Hello, I'm Kads, and welcome to today's video. So today we're going to be doing the first check-in on the Pythion Fragment Summon event. As you can see, I'm currently at 50 fragments, so we're about halfway through the Fragment Summon. If we pop on over to the Fusion plane here, you can see that we are currently on day 6 of the Fusion. Thus far, we've been through Ice Golem, we've been through Classic Arena, Champ Chase, Dungeon Divers 1, Artifact Enhancement 1, as well as the Champion Training event. Fire Night is still ongoing and ending tonight. So, what all did I do to get where I'm at? Let's start with the gem count. I'm at 4,500, give or take, and that means I've spent about 250 gems over the past 6 days. Or at least I'm net down 250 gems. There's some spending and some gaining just from events and tournaments, as well as daily logged rewards. Kicking things off with the Ice Golem tournament, which is still preserved here, we can see that I got all the way to the end, to the epic book. I didn't really need the epic book. I have over 100 now, but I did it. Let's see, I'm way down here in 36th, but as you can see, just barely 3 points over, 2750. And I pushed this far for a multitude of reasons. The Dungeon Divers wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. It still took quite a bit, but I probably could have stopped at 2250 and been fine for the Divers just because of all the champion training that was required. We'll get to that a bit later. But I am also looking for gear from Ice Golem, so I was willing to invest a little bit more just to go for the tome anyways, even though I don't really need it. But it's nice to have in case one day maybe I'll get a bunch of epics or they'll add a bunch of epics that I actually want to book. And since I brought it up, the Dungeon Divers, which was harder than previous, but easier than I thought, because I think I ended up getting like around 4,000 points, and all I needed was 3,300. So I definitely overshot it quite a bit. And like I said, I could have toned it back a little bit on Ice Golem, but I wanted the gear. So I was able to get that done, as well as the coinciding with the Champion Training event. For Classic Arena, you can see here that I placed 7th. I didn't try to win this one. The people at the top were going super hard. Like normally I would kind of fight to get into the 2000s, maybe, if that's a top spot, but I've never pushed that hard to get to 4,000, and that just didn't seem like worth it, just trying to chase the Relentless and or get some fragments. So maybe Classic Arena 2 will be a little bit easier of a group, but for this one, I just kind of let myself fall in the middle. So either I was going to get some energy or some gems, and I fell down and got some of the energy. So that's as far as I wanted to push there. Obviously, 390 was a cakewalk, so no issue there getting the fragments. For the Artifact Enhancement, that was higher than normal as well, at around 4,700 or 4,800, and I was able to do that as well. I mentioned it in my last video about the Champ Chase, but I was able to pull that off only spending about 9 million silver, primarily because majority of that silver was already prepaid, because all I did was take gear such as this ring here that I didn't have to take up. But I took gear from 15 to 16, and I also noticeably got lucky on some of them. Some of them cost like 20k or 30k silver, which wasn't a ton. But nonetheless, generally speaking, it's cheaper to go from 15 to 16 than 12 to 16. So I was able to pull it off, all 4,800-ish points, just taking gear from 15 to 16. And since I brought it up, here is how I ended up in the Champion Chase tournament. I pulled 50 Ancients. That's all it took for me to get to the 3,000 points. However, in hindsight, I could have waited until the last day to do the pulls, just because there was, like I said, a lot of champion training involved here, and just pulling mysteries got me another almost 1,000 points. So I probably could have saved 10 to 20 more Ancients and not pulled it, but no regrets. You know, I got some decent food along the way, so it was worth it in the end. And I still have 300-ish Ancients remaining, so it's not that big of a deal. But that is where I ended up, around 4,000 points. Seeing that on the last day, I didn't really want to push. I could have pushed to try and get the second tome of 5,500, but I rarely do that unless it's like just raining legendaries, which hasn't happened for a very long time. And last but not least, we have the Champion Training event. I already collected the book, so that one has disappeared from the events tab. But as you can see, I have a ton of 5-star chickens now. I don't have a champion currently who I really want to 6-star. I mean, the next one's going to be Pythion when I summon him in a couple of weeks, week and a half, I guess, when 2x Sacreds is here for that champ chase. But overall, I had 2 5-star chickens prior to the start of the fusion, so I made 7 more over the course of those 4 days to get the 12,000 points for the legendary tome. So that's where a lot of my gems were spent. A good amount was spent in Nice Golem, as I mentioned, but a decent amount was also spent in the campaign, just grinding away. And of course, that was also beneficial to build up my silver count, such that when Artifact Enhancement 2, which starts in a couple of days, begins, I'll have enough silver to get that one done as well. I was hoping to place higher in the Classic Arena tournament, get some fragments, thus I could skip one of the Artifact Enhancements, because there are 3. But like I said, that the milestones, but the opponents were way too high for what I wanted to do. So I ended up just getting where I could get, and I'll try to just go ham on champ training to make sure I have enough silver to get the artifact enhancements done. For the short-term goals, starting with the Fire Knight here, that ends in about 7.5 hours for me. And my goal there is just to get to 2250. I'm not going to max this one out. I don't really care about the 4-star chicken, and I'm pretty happy with my gear from Fire Knight thus far. So 2250 is fine. Get the 5 fragments, puts me at 55 total by the end of tonight. After that, we have the Champion Training Tournament, which starts tomorrow morning, 5 hours from now, but effectively tomorrow morning for me. So I'll be getting started with that, and there's no overlap with any other dungeons until the following day with Spider, so I'm going to try and do as much champion training tomorrow as I can, within reason, so that I can focus Spider to build up my silver stack again, as well as get some much needed accessories. It is worth noting that since we do have a CVC going on, it is more beneficial to book your champions tomorrow or after the champion training tournament, because a fairly recent update, but they did change it such that booking champions counts towards champion training tournaments. So I might be able to save a ton of energy actually just by booking my next legendary champion, who will be Nishak, Vermin Lord. So get him up to snuff here with the bombs and maximizing the chances and the cooldowns and the damage as well. So he will be my next muse for books. But yeah, I'll be double dipping there as much as I can to get CVC points as well as get champion training points. Aside from that, the next block of events includes Dungeon Divers 2, which also starts tomorrow, and I'll try to do again as much champion training as possible tomorrow to get a head start on the Dungeon Divers, but ultimately I'll be finishing that out with Spider when that tournament starts the following day, and the artifact enhancement will begin in a couple of days as well. I'm going to try and wait until the end of that one just to make sure I have as much silver as possible, especially after farming Spider, and then I will try to max that out in one fell swoop. In addition, of course, we do have the Summon Rush, which is this upcoming weekend, where we should see a 10x for some champions that will be announced usually on Thursday prior, so a couple of days out. As far as the projected milestones go, I've updated a few of them. The first 2 tournaments were 2250, so I'm assuming that the rest of them now will be 2250 instead of having one be a 2050 arena. I'm assuming the same. We'll find out in the morning what the champion training tournament will be, but my guess was around 4500 just based off historical precedent. But again, for this fusion or for this fragment summon, they've proven to be slightly higher than normal, so that might still be the case. I guess not for the tournaments. The tournaments have been about the same, but at least the events have been higher than normal. I've kept the same for the divers and the art enhance. I still think they're going to be on the higher end, but I'm not entirely sure if they're going to match the previous. There's a good chance that that could happen, so just be prepared for potentially more difficult dungeon divers and potentially more difficult artifact enhancement. The Summon Rush, which is one of the most popular questions that I've seen being asked around, is do I have enough sacreds? I still think we're in good contention to get the 4 sacred minimum of 2150, especially if you maxed out the champion chase like I did. But if you're one of the people that likes to pull all the way to the normally where there's an epic in a fusion or the 15 fragments in a fragment summon, I have a sneaking suspicion that this time it's going to be up to 4925, which could be 9 or 10 sacreds depending on how you want to do it. You could pull 9 4500 and then pull 400 and something mystery shards, or you can just YOLO and do all 10 sacreds and just be done with it. That's my suspicion. I think I would expect up to 10 sacreds being required if you want to go that route, which is why I fully recommended going the Ancients route, because it's just cheaper overall. 2x Ancients is always cheaper for everyone, especially us as free-to-play players. But be warned, beware. We'll find out in a few days, or I guess on Friday, what it's actually going to be, but I'm expecting a relatively heavy milestone for the second one. Alrighty, so that's going to do it for today's video. I am quite curious how you guys like to deal with summon rushes typically, so let me know in the comment section down below if you guys like to go like me for the minimum milestone or you like to go for the maximum milestone. Typically the minimum milestone minimizes the amount of sacreds, but the maximum milestones saves you some time and energy and you get to skip more events. So let me know what you guys like to do in the comment section down below. If you are enjoying the video, be sure to drop a like on it, and we're getting close to 100 subs on the channel. So if you've not joined the crew, then feel free to hit that subscribe button down below if you are enjoying the content. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.